Thank you very much. All right. I don't know about you guys. I think we're a minute or so early, but hey, we're early. Most politicians run late. Give that to us. So we're here on a normal Thursday night. I actually kind of tell you how human we all are and kind of the strange days we kind of live in. I forgot it was Thursday up until a couple hours ago. So we kind of had to put this thing quickly together, but that's all right. We're actually well equipped to do that. We actually have some questions lined up. I guess we're going to redo kind of the half of an earlier video. We've gotten better at this, so let's try it again. So tell us about the political office you're running for, and what does that role do, and what is it responsible for? Well, I'm running for California Assembly District 7, and the role of an assembly member is actually kind of unique because the assembly members get to kind of define those roles based upon their own personal experiences and their personal, not preferences, talents. And so for me, where my talents are is I'm good at taking in a lot of information, analyzing it, and kind of thinking about out-the-box ways, out-the-box solutions, asking different questions. But a second part of my talent is I'm good at listening to people. I've spent a lot of time working as a janitor and working on assembly lines and kind of running assembly lines and running customer service, small customer service type centers. And a lot of these include day workers, so you have to be able to communicate with a wide variety of different people with a lot of different communication styles. You have to be able to get them to work together cohesively quickly, and that's something I've actually fairly good at. And when you add the last few years, I've actually spent a lot of years working on myself, becoming a better listener, becoming a better understander of people who are different than me, that I've just seen that is something that is missing in our politics today. Our politicians like to talk to us, but they don't like to listen to us very well. And they especially don't like to listen to people who don't necessarily agree with them. And so for me, as someone who's kind of talented at being able to kind of hear people who don't agree with you and who are able to work with people from a wide variety of backgrounds, and especially on those on the lower end of the economic scale, which is where I've spent kind of almost my entire adult life anyway, that those are talents that are actually needed, and it is a voice that is needed in the assembly. And since assembly members get to kind of define their roles, I can define my role as an oversight and as to being the listener and to give the people a voice. Be the voice for those who have not been heard, for the individuals and the small groups that don't have enough political clout to get their voices heard in a regular way. Okay. Why am I running for this office instead of, say, why am I running for this particular office? And so why am I doing that instead of, say, a city councilman or, the local dog catcher or any of the various little offices that people run for? And again, it goes back to my unique talents. I wouldn't be a good mayor. It's not actually my talent. My talent is actually better off in the assembly, where it's building these longer-term relationships. Mayors and governors and even senators, they have a different perspective than an assembly. And, so as an assemblyman, you get to do kind of your own thing. You get to define your office the way you define it. Mayors have predefined roles. You have to do specific things. You have certain expectations. Senators have certain expectations. I'm not a chief executive. That's not what I do. I work with teams. And so my ability to work with teams, to work with individuals, to encourage people to be better for themselves is what I bring to the table. And then you add the fact that this office is just in my district. There was nobody else running, and people should have a choice. And if it's me, then it's me, and you try to do the best job you can. Our community needs a new voice. Our politics need a new voice, and it was the opportunity that was there. Why does this matter to me? Because I'm tired of watching my community get torn apart. I have lived here for, oh, since my daughter was, what, 4, so that's 17 years now, and I have seen my neighborhood slowly get torn apart. And then, and I'm watching it happen over a wider and wider area. Pretty soon, it's not just going to be my neighborhood getting torn apart. You know, we call it gentrification here, but the reality is we're having people from outside the neighborhood defining and directing where our neighborhood is going. Our educations, the education of our children is being defined by people from outside of our neighborhoods or even outside of our families. Instead of supporting us and helping us, you know, create the neighborhoods we want, and create the education systems we want, and create the type of economy we want in our local neighborhoods, we're having that imposed on us from people with outside interests. And and that's why it matters to me. Somebody has to be a voice for something different. Somebody has to try to have a different type of politics, have a different type of conversation, and it's what I'm trying to bring. Oh, I actually kind of already covered this. Work-life experiences, so I have to bring to the table. And so I've talked about kind of my work experiences, but my life experiences, you know, as someone who's had an anxiety disorder, I can relate to people who are often on the edges of society. I myself have struggled, you know, financially and economically. I have fallen on my economic face more times than I can count. I had to be rescued by my family, quite literally, off the streets of Chula Vista and brought back here. And I've had this glorious house my grandfather built to help rescue my family, me and my family, and give us a chance to rebuild in a safe environment. And that family safety net is so vitally important. And it's that experience with that family safety net made me realize that our culture has lost that. And we've lost that in search of the almighty property value. But property value is defined by how much you can sell it for, not can it rescue a future generation of your family. Strong communities come from strong families. If families can help each other, communities can help those that can't. And that's kind of the direction I think we should be taking our communities. Not where the government structures we build don't dictate where our cultures go, don't dictate where our communities want to do. They help, they support. You know, they help the foundations. They don't tell you what it's going to look like at the end. They say, how can I help you dig and build this foundation? And that's it's the whole different type of conversation that our politics isn't having. I don't actually have much to say about my opponent as far as I know. Kevin McCarthy is a honorable man. He does what he believes is best for his community. This isn't about me or him. This is about something bigger than both of us. This is about changing the way we do politics. You know, unfortunately, he happens to be part of the entrenched political system. And, you know, we need something completely outside of that. I know we've elected something like that as president, but, you know, there's a way to do that responsibly instead of irresponsibly. And so, you know, we can learn lessons from, you know, Congresswoman Cortez and President Trump about how our communities need a different type of conversation, but we can do that in a responsible way. Is libertarianism only about personal responsibility? Isn't it selfish not to care about people by providing welfare and other entitlements? Well, libertarian isn't about personal responsibility. And then you have to kind of define personal responsibility. Libertarianism is about human rights, the basic right to be left alone if you want to be left alone. It's about coming together to help those freely and choosing to help your community, not your community coming in and dictating how you want to help them. Yes, there are libertarians who are selfish. This is true, but there are selfish people everywhere and in any political ideology. For the most part, all human beings, regardless of their political ideology, want to do good for their community. They don't know how, they get busy, they get sidetracked, all kinds of the various things in life, and maybe they don't do it as well as they would like. But I think instinctively, deep down, everybody would like to help their communities. And all libertarianism is it's focusing on that through individual freedom. It's like, I don't have a right to tell a 14-year-old boy he can't smoke tobacco, not because smoking tobacco is a good idea, because it's not. 14-year-old children shouldn't be smoking tobacco, but because the consequences of making a 14-year-old boy, making it illegal for a 14-year-old boy to smoke tobacco is eventually a cop sitting on top of him, punching him in the face, as we've seen recently happen in Rancho Cordova. That is not an acceptable consequence of a 14-year-old kid's, having in possession of tobacco products. It's just not morally right. So, 14-year-old children should not be in possession of tobacco products, but that is a parent's responsibility, and that's a tobacco store responsibility issue, and we can deal that without making it illegal, where we have all these laws ultimately backed up by violence. If you have to either economic violence, cultural violence, or in this case physical violence, it is simply not right to engineer somebody that way. You want to beg, you want to plead, you want to convince, you want to educate, great, I'll help you. But you cannot commit acts of violence in order to do something that is fundamentally good, because that's just not the right way to do things. And what else? Anything else? Are you fundraising? How can people contribute, and what will be using their contributions to do specifically? Yes, we are fundraising. We actually kind of took a hiatus on fundraising during the beginning of this COVID thing. You can go to our website, justforassembly.com, click the donate button. Mostly, we're going to be using our fundraising for Facebook ads, Twitter ads, those kind of social media ads, at least for the foreseeable future. As personal events and mass gatherings seem to be likely in the next couple months at least. Fairs are closed, and so a lot of these outlets that we would have used to meet people individually are not available to us. I suppose we could go with like a texting campaign, but those are expensive. Same thing, mailers are going to be big this year, so I'm going to have to find some way to raise money for that. But I think at least in the next 2 months, most of our money is going to be to getting a social media campaign going, getting our Facebook ads and Twitter ads, Instagram ads, and getting those kinds of spending done. And actually we're going to have to spend a little bit of money to produce some higher quality ads so we can actually get some of these things done effectively. But luckily, we are a shoestring operation, so we know how to get these things done with the least amount of money spent. And that's another kind of value we will bring to the office, is we will be managing your taxpayer dollar much better, because we know how to spend it. We know how not to spend it, I guess. We are used to kind of fighting for every dollar, and that is going to be very important going forward, as our tax revenue will be decreasing and the needs for government expenditures will be increasing in the coming year. And I believe that is it. We are out of here for the day. If you have any questions for us, you can send us an email at questions@justforassembly.com. We can read them to you next Tuesday night when we come out. We can answer them. I gotta stop doing these things so late at night. I think I get tired. It's odd. Sorry, distracted late at night. We can answer them next Tuesday. And then my TV shows, there's no close. This isn't a TV show. I don't know why I do this. It's one of my TV host duties, and my TV host things comes in. It's just so bizarre. All right, and that's all for you tonight. Catch us on Tuesday. Please donate. Please come to the website and volunteer. We could use all the help we can get. We just posted a need for social media volunteers, people who can know how to use Twitter and Instagram appropriately, because somehow I don't. And thank you. Love everybody, and good night.